Ladies and gentlemen, I'm R.D. Maheshwari. I have the pleasure to talk to you in regard to corporate and allied laws, first group of CA filer. Now, friends, there are many things that the student want to know about this paper, and I'm here to build up the trust. I'm here and I wish then I can help you in a little way, in my modest way. Now, there are a few questions to be answered. And while answering, we have to search ourselves. What are the questions that are there which are perplexing us? As you know, and as is widely shared, that the course is the most difficult. It has become more difficult because of many reasons. Not only that the pass percentage is low, not only because the wide coverage is there, but because the uncertainty is attached. And then, in any of the papers, if we get less than 40%, we are out. Even if we get more than 40%, we are less than 50% in aggregate, then we are out. So therefore, the biggest challenge before us is how to cope with the challenges. How to cope with the challenges to score more than 50% in order to get through the examination. If you look at the examiner's comments, if our performance is average, then we are stuck, difficult to get through. Because the average means our performance is 50%. So it becomes difficult to get through. Therefore, our performance should be above average, should be appropriate to the examination. In order to make the performance above average, what we should do? You are right. In a way, students are right. They are right because sometimes they think that the practical paper should be commanded properly so as to score more marks and just to get through the theory papers. So sometimes on their part, their concentration is more on the paper which they feel can score more, practical papers. And therefore, they may not regard, they may not make much attention to the theoretical papers. In a way, they are right. But they are right up to a particular point. It's not that they are always right. I take the analogy from the cricket. For the cricket, we used to think that there are 2 or 3 batsmen, they score more, then we can play very well. And the match is in the grip. But now the things have not succeeded always. Not succeeded always. 2 or 3 players, batsmen, they do not do well, then there is a pressure on the middle order. And if the middle order do not play well, they do not bat properly, they are only the bowler, they do not bat properly, then we can know the result. So therefore, friends, taking this analogy, we can say, if suppose in one practical paper on which we are relying too much, we do not do so extremely good, then what should be done? We'll have to fall back on the theoretical papers. And if we are not prepared well, then to score aggregate 50% becomes a difficult task. Therefore, friends, firstly, though prepare the practical papers very well, but at the same time, please do not ignore the theoretical papers as well. If we do not do so good, if we are little bad in theoretical paper, that can help us. And on many occasions, the theoretical papers have helped. On many occasions. So the first part of the strategy is give a little more attention to the theory papers like corporate allied laws. Here the less work and the more marks. Secondly, be a little cool in the examination. Before the examination, during the preparation of the examination, and the examination hall more particularly, be a little more cool. More you cool, more better performance you can give. Don't work in hardball. I know that there is the pressure of the examination. But this is this kind of the pressure that we have to cope. So therefore, have a little more cool. Don't be under so much pressure. Probably that can help us much greater. Now, friends, thirdly, actually you are the very hardworking people. Absolutely, there is no difficulty. But let's look at the comments of the examiners, what they say about this paper. We do good, but why don't we do so good? There are certain areas where we have to work on this paper. The first area is that there are some questions, there are some areas, there are some topics which we do not prepare well. I'm talking about the allied laws. If you look at the examination paper, at the pattern of the examination paper, you'll notice 3 things. One is the portion covering the board of directors. On average, in the examination, the board of directors may cover 30%. Remaining portion of the Companies Act may cover 35%. And then the allied laws, though the institute has announced 30%, but on the whole, if you look at the paper, then the allied laws may cover 35, around 35 marks. So therefore, in a way, we can say that the Companies Act 65 and the allied laws 35%. Now, as the student, what do we do? We do not do so well in the allied laws. Either we disregard it, or we try to attempt, we prepare the allied laws, but not so well. We are not so thorough about the allied laws. So losing the allied laws means a loss in the examination papers. So therefore, please do not ignore the allied laws. Either we prepare half-heartedly, or we disregard it, or we prepare a few topics in a particular topic, in a particular chapter, disregard the other portion in a particular topic, and therefore we do not do so good. So therefore, allied laws, prepare properly. We have the 10 acts in the allied laws. Prepare them well. If you have to disregard any one of them, you can. But prepare 8 to 9 chapters very well and thoroughly. Sometimes we prepare the Banking Regulation Act, but by the time we reach the end of the chapter, we disregard something in this paper. And where the thing which you disregard, sometimes it can be. Because as you know, there is a proverb in the cricket. Today is not my day. And therefore the student can say, today is not my day in the examination. I prepared Banking Regulation Act thoroughly, but I disregarded 1 or 2 topics, and there was a question on this. I prepared the SEBI, this part, but I disregarded the other part, and there was a question. So therefore, friends, to the extent possible, prepare at least 8 topics and very thoroughly. Actually, the paper has become much more difficult. In the sense, there is no choice. Almost the entire paper is to be done. Hardly there is a choice of one question. So therefore, preparation should be thorough. Now, friends, now there are certain questions you are asking us. You have already incorporated Companies Amendment 2000 at the end of the chapter, which is missed by us most often. Would you provide us with separate lectures on the same? No problem. So therefore, your question is Companies Amendment Act 2015. Let me say, though we can arrange a lecture for it, Companies Act Amendment 2015. Mr. Suri, thank you so much for your query. Actually, there are not many amendments. After June 15, in the Companies Act 2013, actually in June, some amendment took place. Now, what are those amendments? Let me clarify this. Substantial amendment is not there. Actually, what happened, because when we created the Companies Act 2013, we have provided that this Companies Act 2013 is applicable to all kinds of companies. Whether you are a public company, you are a private company, you are a small company, you are a dormant company, you are a charitable company under Section 8, you are this company, that company, all the provisions are applicable to all the companies. What you did in June 2015, because there is a talk going on, and the government says that we have to create the ease doing business. There should be ease in doing the business. And therefore, the Ministry of Corporate Affairs has amended some of the provisions of the Companies Act 2013, which are universally applicable to all companies, will not apply to a small company, dormant company, company under Section 8, charitable company. This is all that we have done. And therefore, I welcome Mr. Surya's suggestion. We can hold a lecture because you want me, and then we can do it. No problem. But at the moment, in June 2015, besides 2 or 3 amendments of substance, other amendments are of this nature, where we have said that this act or this provision does not apply to some small companies. Now, Mr. Surya, yes. Now you are referring to that you do not write the good answers or the correct answers. Now I'm coming to that point. Now these are the challenges of the examination. To score 50% means aggregate 50%. Means our performance should be above average, as I said before. And therefore, what do we do then? Some of the answers, some of the questions we do not attempt because we are not prepared. We have not prepared well. And if we attempt, then we provide a general idea. If you look at the examiner's comments can be divided into 4 parts. One is that the students have based their answers on general knowledge, which means they are not clear about the law. This is one part. So therefore 10 to 15% paper is based on our general knowledge. So therefore that 15% goes. Other question we do. The question is asking 3 things or 2 things. Sometimes we know the half of the answer, not the other half answer. Just in the case of the loan to directors, in one of the cases, the examiner said that the loan of directors students have done good. But when it comes to the continuation, they have not done good. So half of the marks have gone. 1 or 2 questions, 3 questions. If are of this type, then half of the marks have gone. Thirdly, some questions we do very good. We write good. We score more. 4th problem is some of the questions we understand, but we get confused. So some question we do good. Some question we do half. Half we know, half of the answer. Either we are confused, we do not know. 1 or 2 questions we based on our general knowledge, which is not devoid, which is devoid of the law. And the fourth is, sometimes we get confused. Take for example, the examiner asked about the investment, and the student get confused about the investment in the old Act, Companies Act 1956 with 372A, which is also in the new Act. Section is different. But the student got confused. And actually the problem was on the producer company. The producer company also invests. And the student connected to old Companies Act 372A, they connected. Wrong. And therefore, there are certain areas where some sections should be correlated together. So therefore, if the question is on this part, we answer them well. If the question is on this part, we answer it well. So therefore, some of the answers, our answers are based on the general knowledge, depending on the number of questions. Some 50%, some mixed up. We do not relate. Question is on one thing, we answer the other thing. We get confused. And the four proper answers. And overall result, aggregate 50% becomes difficult. Now the beauty of the examiners, of this examination and of you, if you take care and the amount of the hard work that you took, we can do wonders. Go on the day, and the day of the cricket has come, where the middle order can score and the top order fails. So middle order means the theoretical paper can score, provided we do a little more to this paper. Now friends, now how to prepare this paper? Our mental attitude during the preparation of this paper, in the examination hall, and how to prepare. Mr. Surya rightly said, it can be study only for practice manual, allied laws. Then he has given another example. I will take it up. Now, actually, what is practice manual? Mr. Suri, thank you so much. He is asking, can we prepare the allied laws from the practice manual? Now remember, I'm talking about of this paper so that this paper can become the lender to the other paper. If the top players have failed, then we can score. And we can prove to be the lender to the other papers. Lender means we score more, then that can help us in getting through the examination. Now, what is practice manual? What is the object of this? What's the purpose of this? Though I know that what you're suggesting, many people do it. And I welcome. practice manual is that you know the law and see the practice. Practice manual has an advantage, has a greater advantage. But then there is a disadvantage as well. Advantage is that we can confine our studies. But the disadvantage is that there is no linkage when we talk about one topic. Suppose the Banking Regulation Act. If we stick the Banking Regulation Act in totality, we can connect. Some terms are defined, then other things follow in the sequence wise, and then we can understand. So that develops the conference. But in the practice manual, all the answer there is spread over. In the Banking Regulation Act, one topic is here, another is there, third is there. There is no connection. And therefore, the kind of the content that we have to develop cannot be developed. But the greatest advantage of the practice manual is that we can confine. We know what is what, or what is seems to be more important. Secondly, in the practice manual, suppose the question was never asked, and this time it is asked. So then there is a little risk. So my humble submission is to make the use of the practice manual for the purpose for which it is there. Read the law, then the practice, come to the practice. Or as we can say, in the practice manual we can find out that these are the questions which are important. Then we have a topic, and then connect that these are the questions important, and then study them in the link wise, in the sequence. So this is in regard to the entire paper. And normally, about the practice manual, what you suggest normally is to do this. Now, coming to, there is another question from Bhupendra Chauhan. Then I will take you. Appointment की managerial personnel, is it compulsory to have CFO? Now, let us see. Before I answer Mr. Chauhan, let me clarify one thing. What is all this? What is this paper all about? Is this paper is absolutely law-based? This paper is absolutely law-based. Now, some people say whether this paper is based on the case laws-based. My humble submission is no. The cases are there. In the examination, almost all the questions you will find by way of cases, not by the case laws. Cases are there based on the law. Absolutely on the law. You know the law, and then instead of, I mean the examiner, what the examiner does, that this law is generated by way of problem. The examiner will not ask under what circumstances the chief financial officer can be appointed. He will create a problem and then he will answer. But this answer is based on the law. We know the law, we can answer. No matter how big the problem is. Time management comes in the picture. Because then there is a problem, 7 or 8 lines, you have to read the lines and then you have to apply the law. Now coming to your question. Now, under what circumstances the key managerial personnel is to be appointed? Let us see. And the chief financial officer is one of them. What's the key managerial personnel? Chief executive, managing director, manager, full-time director, chief financial officer, company secretary. They are the key managerial personnel. And what the law says? Listed company and the paid up capital and the public company which has a paid up capital of 10 crores will have to appoint a key managerial person. And the key managerial person whom you appoint, maybe the managing director, maybe the whole-time director, maybe the manager, or maybe the chief financial officer. Because Rule 8 says that the whole-time key managerial personnel means where the listed company is there or the public company which has the paid up capital of 10 crores may appoint. So therefore, if you have the paid up capital of 10 crore and you are a public company, you may or may not appoint the chief financial officer. You may appoint the managing director. Or if you do not want to appoint the managing director, you may appoint the chief financial officer. But one thing, chief financial officer is a part of the key managerial personnel, but he is not a part of the managerial remuneration. When we talk about the managerial remuneration provisions are applicable to the director, to the managing director, to the manager, and to the whole-time director. If you appoint the managing director or manager and the whole-time director and the director you will obviously you will have. And all the directors, they are known as the non-executive director, they are the part-time director. Simply director means non-executive director or the part-time director. Executive director means managing director or the whole-time director. So therefore the choice is yours. If you have the public company, paid up capital 10 crores, choice is yours. You can appoint the managing director or chief financial officer or whole-time director. But one thing is this. Managing director, manager cannot be together. You can have any one of them. If you have the managing director, you will not have the manager. And if you have the manager, you will not have the managing director. Now the question is why? Because the manager, if you look at the definition of the manager is the person who has the management of the whole. When you appoint the manager and he has the management of the whole, there is the need to have the managing director. So therefore, if you appoint the manager is only one in the company. You cannot have two managers. I'm talking of the manager, not sales manager, purchase manager. We call it purchase manager or sales manager. They are merely the officers. They are not the manager. Manager under the law, if you appoint, there is only one manager. And once you appoint the manager, then you can have the managing director. You cannot have the managing director, though you can have the whole-time director or other people. But together with the manager, you cannot have the managing director. And if you have the managing director, you can have more than one managing director. Because if you look at the definition of the managing director means a director who has the substantial powers of management. So therefore, in a company, you can have more than one managing director. One managing director you can have for finance. Another managing director you can have for marketing. Why? Because he has the substantial powers of management. He has the power of management, substantial powers in regard to finance. Another has the substantial powers in regard to marketing, and therefore you have two managing directors. So manager is only one because he has the management of the whole. Now, Mr. Bhupendra, you have another question. Meetings of the board of directors, many of 4 subsequent board meetings we had every year. What is the meaning of every year? Look at the definition. Look at the law. Look at the law. What the law says. Law says that the first board meeting should be held within 30 days. Within 30 days. First board meeting should be held within 30 days. Suppose you incorporated the company on 1st January 2015. Then the 1st January should be held by 30th January or 31st January 2015. And thereafter, the 4 meetings should be held in a year. Thereafter, 4 meetings should be held in a year. And further, the law says that the gap between 2 meetings, 4 meetings should be held in a year. And the gap between 2 meetings should not be more than 120 days. So, meaning thereby, year means the calendar year, no. The financial year, no. It is 365 days. As we celebrate the birthday of A, do we celebrate the birthday as per the calendar year? No. Somebody was born on 10th May, 365 days, 10th May, next year we celebrate. So therefore, you look at the law. The first board meeting should be held within 30 days, and thereafter, the 4 meetings should be held in 365 days thereafter. So therefore, in 365 days, after we held the first board meeting, in 365 days, we must hold 4 board meetings. And the gap between 2 meetings should not be more than 120 days. Now, sir, law says calendar year. You said 300. Where the calendar year said? Can you look at the law? Thereafter, in a year, they didn't say calendar year. Thereafter, in a year. And remember, though General Clauses Act says that the year means calendar year, but there it is provided unless the context otherwise demand. It all depends on the context. Now, for the provision of the casual vacancy, sir, in section 162, read with section 152 and 176, in an example taken up in the class, don't we need a separate resolution as per section 162 if the director gets reappointed automatically in the adjourned meeting or for rotational director? What do you mean by it? Sir, in section 152 and 176 taken up in the class, don't we? I do not remember what we did. If you just elaborate it, I will be too happy. Whether private company having paid up capital of 45 lakhs and turnover is 30 crores as per the last audited balance sheet should be treated as a small company or not? Yes. Now, sir, in section 162, read with section 152 and 176 in an example taken up. Will you kindly elaborate it more? Okay, what you are referring to? Yes, other question I'm taking. Logic behind section 152, what is the need for director to retire by rotation? Yes. Section 152, we are talking about the director retiring by rotation. Actually, the basic object of the director retiring by rotation is so that the director can be for 3 years. Because we have 6 directors retiring by rotation. In total, we have 9 directors. And out of 9 directors, 2/3 directors are retiring by rotation. At least, therefore, 6 are retiring by rotation. So normally when we talk about the retiring by rotation, the term of the director retiring by rotation is 3 years. The term of the retiring by rotation is 3 years. How? In the initial stage, there can be difficulty. But ultimately, the term of the retiring by rotation comes to 3 years. Take for example, we have 6 directors. We have 9 directors, 6 are retiring by rotation. A, B, C, D, E, F. Next year, and this is a new company. As I said before, initially there can be some difficulty. So 6 directors are retiring by rotation out of 9, 2/3. A, B, C, D, E, F. Now, after 1 year, 1/3 will retire. Suppose A or B retire. And who retire? The law provides, section 152 provides that the directors who are longest in office will retire first. And the directors who are appointed on the same day, who will retire, it will be decided by agreement or by lot. So therefore, all the 6 directors are retiring by rotation initially. And all these directors are appointed on one day. In the next year, A or B will retire, assuming. Because all the directors are retiring by rotation and none is longest in office, all are appointed on the same day, and therefore it is decided by agreement or by lot, and therefore suppose A or B retire. This is 2015. In 2016, A or B retire. We reappoint them. In 2016, A or B, assuming. Then in 2017, 4 directors are longest in office. C, D, E, F. Out of C, D, E, F, we retire C, D, 2017. We reappoint them, C, D, 2017. Now coming to 2018. Who are longest in office? E, R, F. We retire E, F. Now I'm coming to 2019. Now this is over. The first directors appointed on the same day. So A or B, C, D, E, F appointed in 2015, A or B retiring on 2016, C or D retiring on 2017, and E or F retiring on 2018. Now 2019, who will retire longest in office? A or B. 2019 they will retire. 2020, C or D will retire. So therefore, initially there can be difficulty because all the directors have been appointed on the same day, but ultimately the term of the director is 3 years. Now, what is the advantage then? To have the director retiring by rotation, the directors will have 3 years. The annual general meeting will decide that after 3 years, when they retire, should they be reappointed or should not? Should other people be reappointed or other people be appointed? So 3 years after we decide whether they should be reappointed who are retiring or we should appoint other people. 3 years are given. So let us judge them. Let us evaluate them. Let us make the appraisal of them. And the lawmaker think that 3 years is sufficient period to make appraisal. And it has 2 advantages. One is that the people who are given 3 years will give their performance in 3 years. And 3 years after, we'll evaluate them. As Mr. Modi says, almost 2 years he is going to complete. He says, give me a little more time to judge me or my performance or the performance of my government. So therefore, people want a little more time. So give them 3 years. 3 years after you judge them, do not appreciate, appoint other people, tell them, please go away. This is the basic object. Now, friends, your questions are very good. Very, very good. I'm really very happy. The type of the question that you are asking, I congratulate you. And I'm sure that this paper can fetch you good marks. If the four things you keep in mind, do good in the paper, concentrate on the law, read the law, concentrate on the law, understand the law, then read the practice manual. Have you understood the law? Just to judge. Hats off to you. Now coming to your query. Please explain section 197.3, insurance for indemnification. Actually, what happens? I'm the employee. Take for example. What's the question? Actually, 197.3. You have given subsection as well. If I'm to give the section, I will give the section, but may not give the subsection. But anyway, you are right. In 197, subsection 3 says, can the managing director, the company has insured me against the loss. If the loss is caused, and against the loss, I have been insured. The company pays the premium. In case the company pays the premium, premium does not become a part of my salary or my remuneration. But once I default, suppose the company pays the premium 100 rupees, assume against me. I have not committed any default. And this 100 rupees does not become a part of my remuneration. My remuneration comes to 300 rupees. I will be paid rupees 300. And this 100 rupees that the company pays for premium will not become a part of my remuneration. But I commit the default. The moment I commit the default, the premium that the company has paid to rupees 100 will become a part of my remuneration. In other words, we can say, in case I commit the default, then the company will pay, kindly give us rupees 100. So it can be either two ways. Either the company can say, kindly pay rupees 100 because you have committed the default. Or the company can say, if we pay rupees 300, 100 rupees will be deducted from your salary, or 100 rupees will become a part of your salary. We'll pay 200 rupees and 100 rupees is already a part of your salary that is there. So therefore, two parts. Indemnification, no loss, company keeps on paying 100 rupees. It's not a part of my remuneration. I've been getting rupees 300 as usual. I commit the default. The company says, pay rupees 100. So there are the two options to the company. Out of 300, the company will deduct rupees 100, will pay rupees 200 to me. Or the company will say, all right, we pay rupees 300, with the other hand, kindly pay us rupees 100 because default was committed. So this is a logic. Now, yes, actually, Mr. Suri, on casual vacancy, probably you are talking about the casual vacancy. Probably you are talking about the casual vacancy in the board director. Now, what the law says. What the law says. And the MCA does not make the difference actually. Let us first look at the law. Law says, in the case of a public company, director is appointed in general meeting. Remember, in the case of public company, New Companies Act 2013, in the case of a public company, the director is appointed in the general meeting. Director vacates the office before the expiry of the term. Director vacates the office before the expiry of the term, unless the RTOs otherwise provide. The board of directors in their meeting can fill up the vacancy. And the person who has been appointed to fill in the vacancy will act during the remaining period of the person in whose place he has been appointed. Suppose a person was appointed public company in general meeting 2016, September 2016, he has been appointed for 3 years. September 2017, he died, vacancy is created. The board of directors has filled in the vacancy and appointed Mr. X in his place in September 2017. The remaining period of this director is for 2 years. So for X, the remaining period will be for 2 years. So what the law? Public company, casual vacancy before the expiry of the term, casual vacancy in the person who has been appointed in general meeting. So public company, director appointed in general meeting, vacate the office before the expiry of the term. Article do not provide otherwise. The board in its meeting can fill in the vacancy. This is the law. Now what the MCA says. MCA says, and what your institute says, does not make much of the difference actually. Though there is a little, but not much. MCA says, okay, once the director has been appointed in the general meeting, A has been appointed in the general meeting, and the vacancies, and A vacate the office before the expiry of the term, board of director can fill the vacancy by way of appointing B to the casual vacancy. We have appointed B. Now B also dies 3 months after. Then the Ministry of Corporate Affairs, MCA, says that when B dies, you can appoint C. But then the law does not permit. Law says that B was not appointed in the general meeting. A was appointed, creating the casual vacancy. You have appointed B, it's perfectly okay. Law permits. B has died because the B was appointed by the board and he has died. Then it cannot be taken as the casual vacancy under the law. But what the MCA says, look at the clarification given. It's only for the convenience actually. They say, okay, once you have appointed in the general meeting and repeatedly vacancy occurs, 1, 2, 3, 4. Then once you have appointed in the general meeting, then the board can fill in the casual vacancy. And they further say that this is only for the administrative convenience. It means they are aware that this is not exactly the interpretation of the law. It's only for the clarification. They only say for the administrative smooth functioning. So what they say, though it is a little departure from the law, okay, once you appointed in the general meeting and then in that the vacancy keeps on arising, yes, then you can fill in by way of casual vacancy. It's only for administrative convenience, they say. It means they are aware that this is not the law. What your institute says? Institute uses the persuasive language. Institute says, okay, instead of filling the casual vacancy, if B has died, B was appointed the board and he has died. So instead of filling the casual vacancy, the board can appoint C as the additional director, provided the board of directors has the power under the articles to appoint the additional director. So they only just, actually, in a way, you can say that there is a difference of opinion, or else they just find out the via media. They say that now when B has died, it is not the casual vacancy in the strict sense of the term as per the law. So it is better if the appointment is to be made, you can appoint the additional directors. So this is, in a way, you are right, though there is a difference of opinion, but this their approach is little different. Administrative convenience, they are more emphasizing on the law, and therefore they are suggesting other violation. This is all that we say. Yes. Please take a separate lecture on Companies Amendment Act 2015. Yes, I've said already, and I will do it. I will do it. No problem. Yes, on Companies Act 2015, I will. Vishnu Mathur, how many revision should we do for law? How many revisions? Mr. Vishnu Mathur, actually the most important thing is how thoroughly you have prepared the law. Revision 1, revision 2, revision 3, revision, they make the sense if we know the law. If we have not understood the law, and keep on reading, it's of no purpose. First, read carefully with a view to understand the law. And I'm sure once you have understood the law, and then revision is only needed. Now, there are two things. Revision is not the substitute for understanding the law. Revision what for? Revision is not the substitute of the understanding of the law. We only think that keep on revising and then we can understand the law. Not exactly the case, as our paper suggests. Once we know the law, understand the law, then some revision is needed, not to understand the law, but since we tend to forget. We have understood the law, but we tend to forget, some missing links are there. Because to forget the law is a natural tendency. Even I, though I've been dealing with the subject for many years, but if you abruptly ask me, I may tend to forget. And therefore, before the class, when I go to the class, I do a lot of homework. Because I admit that when you are to meet the students' larger group, you must be thorough. And in case I just to go, so maybe that I may miss 1 or 2 points. So revision is only to retain the provision, because we can tend to forget. So, Mr. Mathur, Vishnu Mathur, if you have understood the law properly, then if the 3 months or 2 months are there, then with a gap of 15, 20 days, or maybe 1 month, one revision can be made, then another. That may help you to retain the things much more greater. But then that varies from person to person, but this all. So therefore, revision is not for understanding the law. Revision is to retain the law. Now, friends, thank you so much. And I've answered almost all the questions that you have asked. Mr. Chauhan, Mr. Suri, Mr. Vishnu Mathur, and the other students, I wish you all the best. And my experience with my students has been very, very heartening. I wish I can create a trust with you. I can be at your call. I can answer your queries. If you put over the telephone or the mail, and at the moment, if I do not know the answer, I will read it. And my only emphasis is, please concentrate on the law. And to summarize, no part of the paper should be ignored. And I lost. And understand the law. Secondly, prepare thoroughly. Because when we do not prepare, when we leave some portion, there are 2 disadvantages. Number 1, we do not answer. We base our knowledge on general knowledge. And the second probability as well. Because something which you have not read is asked in the examination. Then we relate this question with all other things that we have read. And therefore we match. But that proves to be mismatch. Just to take for example, there was a question on misfeasance. Students are not correct. It is in 1 year. And the examiner has put that the students are basing their knowledge on general knowledge, which is absolutely wrong, because they have not read it. So whatever they have read it, they connect misfitting with that thing that they have read. Mismatching. And secondly, just take for example, some provisions are interconnected. Not all, but some. And when you have to prepare for this paper, do 2-3 things together. Revision, as you have rightly said, Mr. Vishnu Mathur. Beside this, make the comparison. Make the comparison. If you make the comparison of 2 provisions, seem to be identical, and make the comparison, that will help you in retaining. Take for example, we talk about the casual vacancy, we talk about the additional director. Connect them. Casual vacancy, when there is a casual vacancy, additional director is when there is a need to appoint the additional director. Then other provision, in the casual vacancy, the public company, this provision is applicable to the public company. Additional director is applicable to the public and private. Third comparison, the additional director can be appointed by the board when the power is given by the Articles of Association. And about the casual vacancy, there is inherent power that there is a vacancy, and then we can appoint unless the article demand. Take another example. Suppose we have to make the contribution to the charitable fund, or we have to make the contribution to the political party. When we make, now see, and sometimes we get confused, but there is a difference. If we see the difference together, we cannot forget. In the case of the charitable fund, it should not exceed 5% of the average profit of the preceding 3 years. And in case of the contribution to political party, 7.5% of the average profit. So 5%, 7.5%. But then other difference is there. This 7.5% can be in this 5% contribution to charitable fund can be increased if we take the permission of the general meeting. It can be increased. It cannot be increased in any case. So if you see both the provisions together, 5%, 7.5%. Then second difference, which is very important from the examination point of view. Okay, if you have to borrow, section 180, if you have to borrow more than paid up capital in the free reserve, then you have to get the special resolution passed. So that, and this is a very important problem. So there is a problem where contribution to charitable fund is asked and borrowing is asked. So about the borrowing, 3 years profit becomes important, because you cannot borrow more than 5% to, I'm sorry, you cannot borrow, I'm sorry, I'm correcting myself. For the borrowing, you cannot borrow more than paid up capital in the free reserve. Number one. And number two, for contribution to charitable fund, you cannot contribute more than 5% of the average profit of the 3 years. So therefore, when you contribute, the 3 years profit becomes important. But when you have to borrow, then 3 years is not important. You have to see the last year's audited balance sheet, paid up capital in the free reserve, and up to that you can borrow. So for the purpose of borrowing, this paid up capital in the free reserve is important. Earlier years not. For the purpose of contributing, profit of 3 years is important, because you cannot contribute more than 5% unless you seek the permission of the general meeting. 5% of the average profit. So therefore, these are the interconnected provisions. And sometimes we get confused. Now, friends, I've talked about a lot. And your performance is absolutely fantastic. I congratulate you. My best wishes Thank you so much. And I hope I will come to you soon. I have no interest except the interest in you. What more can be my interest if you score 80% in this paper? You score 70% in this paper. What more interest can be of mine? I'm here to build up the trust, to create the curiosity to know the paper. Thank you. Thank you. Thanks a lot. Good night. Best wishes.